Obviously.
All right, let's get started. Welcome, everybody. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Additions to the agenda tonight. Anybody have any? Yes.
I was wondering if I could speak to the board at some point with regard to the last budget meeting, because I wasn't prepared for, and I wanted an opportunity to speak to your proposal.
Sure. Let's put an H. Can I get a motion to add the town treasurer as H?
Second.
Moved and seconded to add the town treasurer. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Anything else? Okay. I have no remarks. Open public comment, non-agenda items. Come on.
To the Selectboard and Vernon residents, I'm Kathy Walker. It is, in my opinion, you are doing a disservice to the citizens of Vernon by reducing the hours yet again for the treasurer's assistant. You have virtually crippled the town office by reducing hours to the treasurer's assistants and to the town clerk's assistant positions. I've worked this position for a year now. Because of limited hours, I have not seen and learned all of that my job entails. Why? Because for the most part, we are not there when certain tasks are set forth. If a resident comes in 10 minutes after we leave for the day, a learning opportunity is missed. If something were to happen to take the treasurer or the town clerk out of work for an extended period of time, both offices would be severely handicapped and unable to do many functions, as we are sadly undertrained due to time constraints. Furthermore, to justify keeping my position at 20 hours, as follows is a list of my duties. 1. Reconcile bank accounts and produce reports. 2. Reconcile fund accounts and produce reports. Reconcile gas boy and produce reports. Record employee hours, leave time, and comp time. 5. Record number and gender of employees weekly. 6. Verify and sign off on treasurer's journal entries. 7. Enter all bills into a warrant. 8. Envelope all checks from payrolls and bills. 9. Collect taxes from residents. 10. Weekly collect pay-as-you-throw monies from Guilford's store. Record sales and to deliver new trash bags as needed. And I must say that's at my own expense because I don't get reimbursed for my miles. 11. Copy tax bills both in person, over the phone, fax, or by email for escrow companies, banks, realtors, law firms, and residents. 12. Fax and make copies for residents. 13. Notarize items for residents. 14. Sell trash bags. 15. Help compile various financial reports for each department, committees, or library trustees. 16. Record all payments made into the tax book. 17. Work 40 hours per week while the treasurer's on vacation and only get paid for 20, as I must comp the rest. 18. Send out tax bills and late notices. 19. Help with payroll, enveloping checks, or completing payroll as needed. 20. Manually typing library checks for paying bills. 21. Counting, recording all monies brought to the office by the Recreation Department, library, and the town clerk. 22. Making change for the town clerk and assistant. 23. Cleaning my work area, emptying trash and recycle bins. 24. Assisting the treasurer in any and all tasks as needed. This is a list of many of the more time-consuming tasks that I perform. I feel it would greatly burden the office to further reduce the hours and expect the same quality of work to be produced when we will be rushed to get the jobs done. This is only my opinion, as I too pay taxes in town and want to keep Vernon's taxes affordable. Thank you for taking the time to listening to me and your consideration of this matter.
Thank you. Approval of minutes, regular meeting and budget, December 6th.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the minutes from December 6th as written. Go
There
ahead.
is a correction on others present. Fourth name from the bottom should be Janice, Janis, Pereira.
As corrected?
That's correct.
Yes? Can I get a second as corrected, please?
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the meeting minutes from December 6th as corrected. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Mr. Clerk, bills and warrants.
Yes, Mr. Chair, have that here somewhere. Even have one. Okay, this is Is it there somewhere? Because I very much have it in my package.
Jeff,
It's here, sorry.
Jeff has 2 copies now.
Oh, you do? Thank you. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve payment of the following bills and warrants. Warrant number 12-T, accounts payable in the amount of $49,151.96. Payroll warrant 49S in the amount of $8,573.95. And payroll warrant 50S in the amount of $7,769.76.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to accept the bills and warrants as read. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? New business, accept the resignation of Stephen Bird from the Recreation Board.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept Stephen Bird's resignation. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All set. Appointment,
Could I just ask a question? Did we
Sure.
receive a letter for resignation? Or some
we received a
communication?
verbal,
verbal?
and then Seth sent us a email stating that he received a verbal resignation from Steve.
Thank you.
I need a motion to appoint Vicky Ray to that open vacancy on the rec board.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by.
I just had a question. Were
Yeah.
there any other applicants or any other interest by anyone?
I have no idea. I didn't go to the last rec board meeting.
I didn't either, no. Well, I just thought I'd ask anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I just, if there was, I would assume we would have been given.
Yeah.
That's all the question I have.
Is this time for discussion? or-
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I just wonder because Vicky is on the payroll for the rec department, so I don't know how
It's
that's.
kind of the same quandary you sit in here, actually.
Well, I don't vote.
Well, and that's gonna have to be the case as well. I've already expressed that concern, that not only is she on the payroll, she also has a mother that is a full-time employee for the preschool, so she will have to excuse herself, as you do, from library votes, from anything that has to do with preschool.
Okay.
That's the only solution with this particular candidate.
Okay.
Is I guess the rec board is satisfied with that arrangement, or are
They seem to be, because they brought the,
They brought the
They candidate to us.
All right, yeah. Well, I mean, we're certainly getting along fine with Jean, so, or at least most of us are.
Yep.
I will say,
Most of the time.
I will say that I am so glad I'm retiring in March because I've really had it with the warrants and bills every other Wednesday.
Yeah,
But
go ahead.
How come it
anyway,
wasn't put out to other people so that other people could apply for the job?
I don't know that it was or wasn't. Like I said, I wasn't at the last
Because that's
rec
not
board
fair.
meeting, maybe 2 rec board meetings, so I have no idea whether it was.
Because
or
other
not.
people might want to be on the rec board that, you know.
I don't disagree with you, and I have no good answer to your question because I haven't been in the
So
last
how can
meeting.
you vote somebody on it if you don't have other applicants?
We're going off the recommendation of the rec board, which I wasn't involved with.
And I think, you know, another issue with that is that we don't see any minutes from these meetings, so your awareness of what's going on is not out there. You know?
Why don't you see minutes? The minutes are taken.
Don't ever see them published in. They are? Okay.
Yeah,
I
they're
thought I
always,
saw them upstairs.
they're always posted in the
They're
town
there.
clerk's office.
Okay.
so.
I know a lot of meetings, I might be one that comes to the library and to the town clerk's office a lot, but there's a lot of people in town that don't do that. So you need to somehow figure out how to get this meeting things, different meetings and committee meetings and stuff out to the other public.
Mhm. Yeah,
And some people don't even have computers, so, you know.
makes it almost impossible to
That's
get it out
right.
to everybody. So,
It can be posted, but I'm just telling you, I don't come to the library. As I do now come to the library because I'm a volunteer at the library, but a
Yep.
lot of people have their mail delivered and they don't go to the post office and only to get maybe stamps or something, and they don't come to the town office only to get trash bags. But, you know, people can walk by that bulletin board and never read it.
Well, that- if I might add a comment regarding that, if people are truly interested in their town, then they should go and read the bulletin board, and they should get involved and go to some of these
Well,
meetings.
probably a lot
The
of people
town,
don't
the
know it's
town,
on the bulletin
well,
board.
wait. a
well,
minute,
and they're all
the-
public as
the
well.
town-
If somebody wants the minutes from any meeting, all they have to do is request them.
And further, the meetings are actually announced in the paper that Martin Langeveld is involved in, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I'm one that don't buy the Reformer.
Now, I'm not talking about the Reform, I'm talking about the town
I
newspaper.
know, but I'm telling you, a lot of people don't have.
Yeah, well, I mean,
stuff, too.
I know, and some
Yeah.
people are hermits and live in the backwoods somewhere like me, but I still get out, you know.
Well, you might be and I might be, but there are people in town that don't, so.
Do you have any suggestion there to have rectify that? Do we
Well, I
send
think
out
it should
mass
be,
mailing?
I think the rec board needs to put out more stuff, because I've never been to a rec board meeting, and I would like to go. I'd like to get,
Is it just the rec board?
no, any of the committees.
Okay. So,
And that's why I volunteer at the library and stuff like that, because I enjoy it.
Mhm.
I enjoy being on the committees as volunteers, and I would be on more if I knew about, if there was an opening or something.
Well, next time you're in the library, stop in and see Tim, and he can give you a list of everything that's going on. And by date and time.
And
Okay.
I think that it's also posted on the bulletin board.
It is.
outside, yeah,
Mhm.
which you walk right by to get in the library.
Okay, we have further discussion on this? No? Got a motion and a second. All those in favor of Vicky, appointing Vicky Ray to the rec board, please signify by saying aye.
I,
Those opposed? Approval of reinvestment of a $100,000 federal bond that has currently matured. So we had another bond mature like literally 2 days after our last select board meeting, where we,
That's like a month.
Reinvested another one.
But it's a month.
yeah,
So moved.
Second.
moved and seconded to reinvest $100,000 federal bond. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
discussion?
Sure.
I think at some point we need to revisit the idea of how we invest the town's money. Cindy, not to put you on the spot, when's the next bond up?
It's in March.
Well, I think we need a discussion before then. You know, we are,
I can make contact with Gordon
Yeah.
and see if we
We'll
can set
put,
up a time for him to come in and meet with us.
We put Gordy on our last January meeting, please.
I think we should.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because the next one is March, because when he called me about this one, that happened 2 days after we had this big discussion. I said, dude, you gotta tell me what's coming up so we don't have to keep doing this. And he said the next one was March, so we got,
He never even
We got some
contacted
time.
me about this one.
yeah, he called me. And then we had the discussion about getting ahead of the game. And so we will continue that discussion in February, or January, into January.
Thank you.
I have a question because the agreement was that things would be done with the approval of the treasurer and the select board. Cindy's saying that she had no knowledge of this, so we need to
Do you have
hear-
knowledge of this one before right now?
I saw an email
Okay.
that you sent, but he never contacted me, and I didn't know until I saw the email.
Okay.
And so what is your thought on it, on this
I think
reinvesting?
since we have another one coming up in March, we'll be okay.
Okay, that's what we need to
But-
hear.
But, yeah, but I do have some monies that I may be needing, but I think we'll be okay until the next week.
Okay.
Thank you,
So
that's
what if we
important.
just didn't reinvest this right off? It's $100,000 that, does it have to be done?
No, I mean, I don't know what his thought is.
I mean,
I'm
it can
sure
sit there until we have a discussion.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, it could.
Basically, it just sits there and does nothing. It doesn't go anywhere. So we don't need to do it, but if you don't need the money, we might as well get it back and earn an interest again.
That's good for
If you
you?
can.
That's good.
Okay. Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Yeah, please slow me down because we're gonna have if you need to talk about something,
Okay.
this budget is gonna take us a long time tonight, I have a feeling. So, and here we are. Capital Plan Committee.
Yeah, I've been asked to have you folks slide down this way as far as possible because the
You just
camera
want me
can't
next
see
to
you.
you.
Well, that too. But we won't.
We won't.
In front of the camera, really. And they've been evidence.
You just pass those,
Yes.
pass those right along.
It's
No, all of them,
all, the whole package.
package. all the way right in.
All the way over, yeah.
This one down, thanks.
Just pass the whole thing down.
Oh,
That's the whole package.
We're good.
Okay.
Oh, Michelle needs one?
I've got plenty.
I'll take one more. There you go.
There, I think you
Everybody
did
have
it.
it?
I didn't know you'd need one, Michelle, I'm sorry.
Okay. The last time we were here, we went over the original submission that we had for the funding for the emergency capital plan. And you asked us to go back and talk to the people involved to see if there was anywhere that we could reduce it. So, in your packets that I just gave you, there is one titled Town Garage Equipment Needed and Tank Information Requested.
And I think we've had this discussion with David at the last meeting, right? On these
And
two very topics.
you may have, but
We did.
we
yeah.
wanted to make sure that you knew that we did the work.
Yes, we
Okay.
appreciate that, and I think we had
So-
this in our last packet, and that's why we had the discussion with David,
Okay.
because he was in front of us, and we
All
appreciate
right.
you.
And the
doing
second
that.
one is from Todd and JJ. Says why EMPs at the fire department need new life packs and covering the fire department garage area ceiling. And those are the answers to the questions that you had asked. When you get down to the part about the purchasing of the previous life packs, I checked with Cindy to be sure that that was correct.
Anybody have any questions on those couple of items? Happy with the answers that you got, or did it bring about more?
Well, we have more to discuss
Questions?
when we go over the budget items.
Thank you.
Um,
Other things I understand.
so you're asking for 2 life packs?
Can we do our budget
Oh,
and then you could
not
talk
this,
to Todd?
oh, I thought we were
Yeah,
on
I
the
just
fire
wanted you to
department.
get the information. And
Oh,
then
okay.
after that, because when we go give you the information, it may or may not answer your questions. Originally, the budget that we presented to you was $218,128. If you look at the one that has the yellow on it, the yellow, it is brought down to $209,000. And that is taking out the grader, which we took out because the explanation that I gave you from David and that you heard from David about not needing, they're already doing the maintenance on the grader. The only thing that we need to go out is the chains drive, and they can't do that. So that reduced it by 8,000. And we still have other items on there, so if you go down to the one that has no yellow, that brought it down to 200,000. If you go to the next one without the yellow line, the next budget, we now have it down to 185,128. If you choose to take the life tax out of there and to pay for them the way they were paid for before. Otherwise, it would be the 200,000. That's why you have both figures, you have both papers.
Okay, so the difference between the highlighted paper and the non-highlighted paper
the life pack.
is simply the life packs.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, we talked with David, and he said he really does need those trucks to stay there, that he's pushed them back and pushed them back. And that's as far back as he feels comfortable with pushing them.
Okay.
So, that will be your decision, what you want to do, and he's aware of that too. And on the life packs, originally they did request 2, but the board then wanted to see, are they going to get any use from them or whatever. And they would like to, for the reasons that's listed here, that if they buy new ones, it will be the life pack 15. Which will be sent with the person on the ambulance. So, and if, so it's not available, the other one would be available. And they would like to also hold on to the 12, because it's of little or no value. People are using the 15 now. But should there be something, a major catastrophe or 2 heart attacks at a time, there's another machine that they can use if that should happen. And so far this year, we've had 6 calls that needed that life pack. If you have any questions now, Jean, go right ahead. Thank you.
Okay, so I think I was trying to read and didn't catch how they were paid for the first
The
time.
first time they were paid for, it says right here on the thing, was they took it from the Emergency Medical Services Fund. That's on page 6 or 8. Page. Yeah, I have page 6 or page 8 on one. Page 8. Page 8 on your 216. There's an Emergency Medical and Ambulance Service Fund, and it was taken from there.
Okay.
And there's still over $100,000 in there. I checked with Cindy today. So if it's something that you want to do, you can have them and take it from the fund as they were taken before. Or if you don't want to, you're the boss.
Are there grants, matching grants for this?
I don't know. Did they ask you to find a grant?
No, for this one I
Okay.
can look.
Okay.
So the money's there, and in my opinion, we don't need to put it in the capital plan and raise it by taxes if we have a fund that has funds for that purpose to do that, that's sitting there. But Ever.
Read the purpose first.
I was gonna say another thing.
It's not the stated purpose.
No, wait, no, and that was the other question. That's why I called Cindy. Because if you read the stated purpose, it's just like the one for the emergency capital plan that's in there now. It's not complete.
So it's worded so poorly that
It's
we can't even
worded
touch
so
the money.
poorly. No, you can't, you have past precedent, you have past precedent of touching the money.
Yeah.
But what we need to do is the same as we've done for the emergency capital plan fund, rewrite it for what it was approved for.
Okay.
We'll have to go back, I only found that out today, so we'll go back and research that, see what it was originally set up as.
Shed me some light, please.
In 2014, the select board voted to buy the one life pack out of that fund. That's not, as Linda stated, that's not how it reads, what that fund is for, but the select board opted to do that.
Okay.
I did not have time because I didn't find out till this afternoon that there was
Yeah,
a
when I-
question.
when I
So I haven't
asked
had
her.
time to research it,
Mhm.
but I certainly can research it like I did the other one and find out, go back to the inception and find out exactly how it read.
Okay.
But I didn't find out until mid-afternoon.
Yeah, that's when I
But
called her. to
The
get
select
the
board did in 2014 vote to buy one refurbished life pack through that.
And that,
But generally, what we use that fund for is for people who can't afford to buy subscriptions for rescue. They can ask the town to pay for them. It's a membership fee. That's what we use that fund for.
And if when we go back and we research it and see what was there, maybe we'll find other wording than what's in this book.
That's
Just
right.
as we did for the emergency capital plan fund.
JJ, come on up.
So, Cindy's right. Initially, this whole thing with the ambulance fund was initially set up for the townspeople back in the day to help pay for actually ambulance transports. They're actually paying full bills to the citizens of the town of Vernon if they couldn't afford it. Then the towns decided, you know what, we can't afford to do that anymore. Why don't we go to the subscription fee? So then they changed the wording in the book and changed the whole in the town meeting. Then Dave Andrews, back when he was the chief, came up with the idea and had them change the wording to change it so that the EMS side of the department could also use that to fund medical equipment.
Okay.
So there is a change prior to 2014. There is a change in the book in there
Okay.
for that.
It's not written in the book.
I've seen.
Linda and I both were reading it,
Right.
and we neither one of us
But we
saw.
have to keep going back.
We have to go back
We have
and
to go
find it.
back. It's
Right,
not
but
here right
it
now.
Carry
is
it forward.
right
So-
because that's the only reason we went. The board allowed it was because of
Right.
that
change in
change in the
wording.
wording.
But I'll have to research it and go back and find where it was changed and
Right.
get the correct description. for
it would have had to be changed at town meeting.
Right.
Correct.
Somewhere it would have to be in
Yeah.
minutes, and
I
that's
know
what.
I know
we
the
have
year
to
it
do.
happened, so it shouldn't be that
Yeah.
difficult to
Yeah.
trace it back and find where it was done.
Right.
Okay.
I just didn't have time to do it today.
Outside of the life packs, do we have any questions for the committee about anything else?
I still have a question on that.
I just found out, about a half an hour before this meeting, that there may be some extensive repair work needed at the South School Museum. We did get a request, from the historians to add money into the building maintenance, part of their budget. However, talking with other members of the historian, committee, it appears that there may be some extensive issues that need to be corrected. And right now, there's nothing in the capital plan for that. And talking to, and actually I was speaking with Bill, that he thought, it could be an extensive, over $10,000 cost to shore up the roof. We have
Who's made this determination?
This is I just had the conversation. I've never been in the building. I haven't had any estimates. I haven't had anybody look into it. But if it's a huge problem, we need to figure that out probably before we put it off for another year.
But
That's what
who
concerns me.
brought it to you and said this could be a huge problem?
Bill Hammond.
Okay.
I had a conversation with Michelle, 3-4 weeks ago, we talked about talking to you about making some kind of arrangement to have somebody come in that's a professional general contractor and to review all of our buildings, see what needs to be done, what order needs to be done. And they don't have to come in forever, but have an initial, because there's really no one who is doing that. And I had no idea about the museum, so this is the first time hearing about it. But I'm not surprised, because we don't have anybody who has that expertise. And Michelle and I, because the committee, when I met with our committee, that was one of the things that Rita and Joyce brought up, was the fact that there's nobody really looking at the condition of the buildings. None of us are capable of, on the committee, are of assessing that type of work. And we really should have an initial one, and we talked about maybe working it somehow into the budget.
Yeah, and I would steer away from a general contractor doing that. I would look more towards an inspector,
Oh, okay.
whether it be a commercial or a home inspector, depending on what we're talking about.
Like I would do for
Just
my own.
because I love my general contractor friends, I have many, but it's like going to the dentist.
Do I have
You're
a
always going to
cavity?
find something to fix because that's your job and that's how
Right.
you get paid.
Yeah,
But an inspector is
You're
a little
right.
more,
yeah,
I don't know.
right.
I'm not going to say any more. An inspector is will
That's their
do a
job.
better job for us.
No,
I
well, I
think,
know,
in my opinion.
it's their job to see what needs to be done. So maybe that's something Michelle can look into, because in the long run, it'll pay for itself if we have a list of what needs to be done, and then we can do it in the priority it needs to be done.
As a historical building, perhaps there
Might be funds.
some grant money
There is. That I know.
rather
Right.
than us trying
Us
to pay for it
having-
ourselves.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Any other questions here? Or things you need us to look at further?
I think you guys do a phenomenal job.
Yeah. If I just, one question, because
Sure.
it's certainly something I recall. The garage ceiling at
Yes.
the fire department sounds like a fairly low-cost.
Yes, and I just
Is that
was
180?
checking my emails just before I left, and I had an email from Todd that said JJ would be here, and that he was appreciative of this information that I got, and that they would be able to do it in the next month or so.
Right, oh, wonderful,
So it'll
yeah.
get done.
I thought we had an issue with that, though. I thought we had talked about putting plastic on the ceiling, and it would eventually cause a moisture problem.
Well, I called the state to see if we could put plastic on the ceiling. And then when I talked to the guy at Perkins, he said as long as we leave an open perimeter so it gets breath, it should be fine. And he suggested no less than a foot all around. And when they were interested, you know, it might, like there's an area there where there's piping that's more than, it's like 3 feet, right where the doors are.
Yeah.
So all of that would be left open so they could get up and work on whatever needs. And we don't ever put tables under there that I recall where that area is. And then leave a whole perimeter of at least a foot all the way around. So that would allow it to breathe. That's what
I'm not sure I agree
This
with that
man said.
assessment.
I don't know, because I'm not a building person.
Yeah.
I can only call people and ask them.
Yeah.
But that's something I could, who else could I call?
Because didn't we talk to Farnham Insulation about this and he said don't do it? Yeah, okay. And I would trust the word of Farnham Insulation over the guy at the counter at Perkins,
Okay,
personally.
okay. He's also
So-
a contractor.
Okay.
What did
Looking
Vernon
for
say
help.
about, what did Vernon say? to
Don't
do?
put plastic up because it'll cause moisture problems and end up rotting everything from the inside out in the roof.
Yeah, which you
Can
don't
it
want to
just
do,
get
and that's what.
strapped to hold that back up there? I don't know what the
The
problem
the
really
problem
is,
isn't
but I haven't
necessarily
seen it.
big chunks falling out, it's, particulate matter that's coming down from the
Oh,
ceiling,
the
that's
dust.
all.
Yeah, it's the dust.
What's the other option?
The other option is,
Put in false
re-insulate
ceiling.
everything the right way and not have a problem anymore. But that's not cheap.
It'll only get more expensive.
It's true. Well, I mean, as of right now, it's not necessarily a building issue at this point. We're not having issues because of the insulation. It's a concern of when they have dinners and stuff like that there, that's an open ceiling with fiberglass hanging above that, it's a health concern for the 4 or 5 times a year that they have dinners in the main part.
Why not just sheetrock it?
Well, even with sheetrock, you're putting up a vapor barrier. And the thing is that, in my opinion, the vapor barrier is probably important to keep the moisture into the fire building and then and then ventilate the upper portion properly. But that would mean cutting some louvers in the sidewalls to allow the insulation, like you do in the house.
And from everything
It's
that
just
we
a
heard
flat
from
roof.
Farnham when we had them check it when this matter first came up, is that roof is not to the point of where we can easily do that. We need to redo all the insulation, probably do some ventilation. I can't remember, this discussion happened probably almost a year ago at this point.
What if you put in a drop ceiling? Drop it, put in a drop ceiling,
Well,
3
you
feet,
still
2
need
feet, or
some
3
place
feet
for the
down,
moisture
give you the
to
insulation.
dissipate.
Yeah, but
That's the thing.
still
with
have,
The ventilation
is,
part.
yeah, the ventilation still becomes a problem.
Release the moisture somehow. Because all that's iron up there, isn't it? Like iron trusses and.
I would assume so.
It's
I
not
haven't
wooden
been
trusses.
up in there.
Flat roof.
Talk,
Yeah.
Well, I don't have to micro manage this right now, but I mean, I would think that rusting problem would be really particularly serious.
Pretty much it's floor joists, it's wood rafters with
Oh, it is
insulation.
wood.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
The main supporting of the roof is 3-foot thick steel girders in there.
All right.
I guess the easiest solution is, for right now, just pull all the insulation out and then maybe increase the heating bill.
Well, no,
or-
I'm not suggesting that, but I don't think that having that arrangement down there is very safe.
I understand that. The last time that I spoke with the board about what millimeter and for the plastic, and it was, don't do anything. So
yeah.
it's just,
And I kind of think that's where we're going to hold for now, in my opinion, because because tearing the insulation out to increase our heating bill is not a good idea. For the 4 or 5 times a year that we actually eat there. Or maybe it's more than that. I don't think it is.
So.
But because I don't think we've had a huge problem with insulation coming down on people during a dinner and stuff like that. And I understand particulate matter. I
Well,
understand all those
that's
kind of
the thing,
things.
you're not going to notice it,
But-
but you're going to ingest it.
Yeah.
But they are every day that they're there.
What?
They're ingesting it whenever they're there.
I'm aware of that, but when you have children in there at a dinner or old people and all that stuff, fiberglass may not be as bad as asbestos, but it's not benign.
Right.
You know that. Put
It's-
some on your skin sometimes, see what it's like.
It itches.
Yeah. You bet it does.
I think it's a $60,000 problem is
It
what I
probably
think.
is, yeah.
That we cannot handle at this very moment. We're not going to fix it at this meeting tonight. But it is something that we can look at to put in a capital plan if we want to. I think we have a,
Tar, paper, stone,
what did
fire
we get?
station roof.
Did we get an estimate to do that from Farnham when he looked at it?
No.
We did not get an estimate, okay. So, I guess we need to start looking at estimates to do some of these things. And I think that's part of our overall energy efficiency plan anyway, was the town garage and the firehouse. So we're in process with this, but just like everything else, it's slow. And we don't have a good temporary fix, is the beginning and ends of the problem. It's gonna be a permanent fix or it's gonna be nothing. And because there's no good fix in between. Because you can cause more problems or.
Okay. Any questions on anything else? I know you do, I can see. I can see your mind.
You guys have done a great job, first of all. My concern goes back to fuel tanks.
Yeah.
There's two 4,000 gallon fuel tanks.
Right.
There's projected future costs of $200,000. I guess I don't agree with saving $10,000 this year until I actually see some kind of quotes.
Sure. David did ask for the quotes,
Yeah.
but he hasn't had the quotes. He hasn't had the guy call him back, and he said he will keep working and calling and leaving messages for him to call him back. But
Because I have, unless I see the figures, I have a hard time believing
Yeah.
to replace one 4,000 gallon tank would be $100,000. I mean, you could, I looked up, you could buy a custom built double wall tank for $12,000 for a 4,000 gallon tank.
Above ground, right?
Above ground, yeah. So,
And see, a decision that would need to be made if we put them above ground too is just so whatever space they take up, we can't use that space anymore because that's the space it takes up.
Yeah.
And then there would be costs in controlling the fact that right now it's in the ground and they turn on a pump and it sucks it up. It's not gonna fall, leak out except maybe through the ground if the tank isn't any good. But if it's up above, they have to have other controls
Have a
that can
containment
prevent
around it.
the gravity from having a leak that way.
Yep.
So there's expenses either way
Right.
that would go. But we should have an actual quote, but he has not been able to get one. I checked with him today and the guy still hasn't.
no, I mean, that's fine. I'm not gonna vote
So would
yay.
you like me to take the $10,000 out of there?
I would
Okay.
vote that way.
That's all right. We can
But
do that.
I'm only one of five, so.
How about the rest of you? You want to start saving or just wait and see?
I think we
want to
need
start
some-
saving.
I need to,
I
because
think
we're gonna
You
need
can
to do
decide.
it.
It doesn't mean we've got to spend everything that you save.
Mhm.
You spend whatever it costs, but maybe just
It always
take it a little
comes
bit at
back
a
to my
time.
concern when you start saving money towards something, inevitably you're gonna end up buying it.
Well, isn't there already issues with the tanks in the ground? Or the laws changing?
There aren't any issues with the tanks in the ground that we know of now, but every year they have to be tested to be sure that there aren't any issues coming up. But when there are, I can only speak for my own tank that was in my other house that I lived in. It hadn't been used for a while, and before I put oil in it, I asked them to check it. And that's when I found out that they rot from the inside out. And they said that they would not put oil in it because it didn't come back testing properly and the oil could leak into the dirt floor of the cellar. And I'd have to dig that out, so we never did use it.
So I agree with both sides of the equation, and I agree with what Jeff's saying. And I also agree that we need to start saving some money towards it. And knowing that, a tank's $12,000 based on Jeff's research, and we need two of them, that's $24,000. Why don't we amend that to a $5,000 number for this year? So that would be 4 or 5 years out, we would have that funding, but in the meantime, we're gonna get quotes and understand if that number needs to be raised next year.
He's waiting for the guy to get back to do them.
Yeah, which, that's all well and good, but we have to have budgets done and
Well-
the town report done as well.
And
So-
town meeting. he should have the numbers if you changed it to him.
Hopefully, oh, yeah.
You know,
Hopefully, he was expecting to have them for this meeting. Well, not this meeting, the 23rd. And didn't have them.
So what does everybody think about that compromise of putting $5,000 in for this year? And instead of trying to fund the full 10 and until we get a quote to understand exactly what we need.
Okay.
That's fine, you gotta agree.
I think I would like to see a quote first. That would be my position.
Okay. Understanding that we can change the town meeting.
Yeah.
I frankly don't care one way or the other when it comes with this particular issue.
Did you want a motion?
No, we can just tell the
Okay.
And just
planning
tell me what to
commission.
do.
Is is everybody okay with just leaving it at 0 and fixing it at town meeting if we get a quote between now and then? Or do we want to
I think it's easier.
talk about this more and go back and forth?
I think it's easier if there's a figure in there to take it out or raise it at town meeting. If there's not a figure there, I think it's a little harder to add to it.
You just put a big hit
Yeah.
on to the
Yeah.
bottom line.
What do you mean? We do that every year.
Well, there's usually something to base it on.
No, there isn't, really.
What's your pleasure?
So what do we want to do?
I guess you've got the vote.
You've got the.
Yeah, you got the
decide.
vote.
We're not gonna try and fail you either way.
Well, I think the majority wanted to see 5,000. Is that what you're saying? Maybe.
Let's put 5,000 in. That's my vote. That's the end.
So I'll change it to 5, which will change this down to 180.
We still need to,
You need
Yes.
to look at it and make your decision after you look at it, whether you want to approve it as is or what you
yeah,
want.
well, we also have to decide about the life packs, whether
Right.
we are going to.
How you're
If-
going to handle that.
I think, based on what JJ's saying, and I'm going off of his remembrance of that article and how it changed the town meeting, that we should remove that from the capital plan and then understand if we can use the money from that fund, because I would love to use the money from that fund instead of raising it through taxes. If the money's sitting there for us to use, I want to use it. I don't want to raise taxes for it.
I have one question. In the future, for, let's say, this piece of machinery, which is a $30,000, brand new $30,000 piece of machinery.
Yeah.
I'm not saying from now, but I think needs to be looked at as part of a capital plan purchasing.
I absolutely agree with you. And
That's why I did it the way we had
Yeah.
started doing it, because
Yep.
we needed to look at that.
Yeah.
So,
And I absolutely agree with that line of thinking. So, do we want to pull it out and see if we can get it out of that fund?
Well, we should be able to find out what that wording was and
We're
what
gonna have to have
changed
another budget meeting. That's the beginning and ends of
Before it
this.
gets printed.
So,
Why don't we try to find out
Why
the
can't we
history of it
accept
before it gets
Take
printed?
it out, subject to their research.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That we
That's
don't
what
have
I'm
to have another
proposing.
meeting, they can.
Oh, we're gonna have to have another meeting, trust
There
me.
is
By the
another
time
one
this is
on
all
the-
said and done
There's-
tonight,
January
they're gonna have
January
another.
3rd. Another meeting,
3rd, it's next week.
yeah. Right.
Surprise!
January 3rd.
Happy
I have
vacation.
on my schedule January 3rd.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's pull that out. The life packs, let's pull that out and pray that we can pull it out of the funds that we already have. And so that brings us down to
180,
128. And then maybe David will have something more concrete by then, and we can make adjustments to the other line if it makes sense at that point.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions for the capital planning committee? Thank you very much for all the work that you do. You guys do an awesome job, and
We all work together and everybody pulls their share. So
absolutely,
That's
we
good.
appreciate that. The historian's budget.
There's a letter here somewhere that says that they'd like to postpone that.
That is correct. There is a letter there that says they would like to postpone. It's on the agenda, we're gonna talk about it. We have another budget meeting coming up, so if there's any major changes to the historian's budget, then we can discuss it then with them when they're able to attend. But let's look at it tonight so we know. And of course, I didn't bring any of my stuff.
It's okay.
Find them. I'm just watching it through because I'm flying through 14.
I should have brought my glasses.
When you get to my age, you won't even worry about it. It doesn't matter one way or the other.
Trust me, I'm getting close. Do we have any questions regarding the historian's budget?
No.
Well, I will say that 250 is not, I don't think it's gonna cover what they asked to
Yeah.
fix in that email.
Right.
This asked for inside schoolhouse building windows and trim, painting, outside flagpole painting, and repair and placement of ceiling insulation in the annex. I don't think that's a huge job in talking, Carol, I just received this today,
Yep.
so.
So
But
let's,
the 250 probably is not gonna cover.
no, it's definitely not. I really don't want to add any money into this budget because we have not cut anything.
Well, they cut $781.
No, I mean, as a whole in general, we really haven't cut anything.
Well, they
I
got
really-
761, but we took the $800 out that is going in an article.
Right.
Just,
Right.
So do we want to table this until they can come talk to us? I'm sure they'll have estimates when they get here
I think we should table it.
because we're going to have another budget meeting anyway. Everybody else, are we happy with every other line item on that with the exception of the building repairs and maintenance line? Let's get that far in.
Now, why did they put the historic records preservation into an article?
because they're a non-profit, so instead of the Selectboard going through
Remember-
their budget
Okay.
line item by line item, you can just write them a check for $800 and they can spend it however
Okay.
they need to. Which just makes more sense.
That was the nonprofit discussion we had with Chad Mulverhill a
Okay.
couple months ago.
I don't remember.
I don't remember my kids' birthdays on a regular basis, so don't feel bad.
Just once a year.
I know, that's what makes it really difficult. It doesn't happen every day, so I can't, it's really hard to remember. Grasp it. Everybody's happy with that, with the exception of the building repairs and maintenance, which we will discuss further with them when they're able to attend at the next meeting, which is next week. Okay. Great. Fire department.
Second.
You want to come up and everything? Good for you. Good man. I like it.
Take some abuse.
You should get to sit down while it happens.
In a comfy chair.
It's that $8,000 number. That's a prior year carryover.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the bottom.
So we actually, this is probably one of the, no, this is 100,000. I was thinking that voted budget said 190. I can't see anything.
It's 100,200.
Okay.
No.
Because the total is, yeah, a little off the budget.
So travel
Oh, the
reimbursements.
total from the year before?
Yeah, 108, it's 108 something, yeah.
Nothing was spent, but we're raising 2,000 again. If I'm seeing it right.
Nothing was spent 16, 17. I think we have spent the travel reimbursements
Okay.
this budget year. Though,
Going
right?
to.
You're going
They
to.
carried over for gas cards.
Yeah,
That will be spent, and the rest will be taken care of as well.
okay.
Work in progress now that I'm laid off.
Okay.
You got 6 months to do it. You can do it. Go and call, buy a gas card.
So my questions to you are the same as I've questioned other departments that have actuals. For example, the rescue supplies, you had actually spent $884, but you're wanting 4,000.
I've kept it at 4,000 every year, only for the simple fact is 80% of our calls are EMS. Not knowing, Jay just purchased an extra set of leads for the 12 Life Pack 12. How much was that?
About $600.
$600. So
So far this year, I've spent roughly about $1,000 so far in that budget.
And you got 6 months left.
Yeah, so that's a quarter of it, but there's, and there's other line items that are doing the same thing. Only because, which I pointed out before, money in your budget that didn't get spent used to get put right back against our tax burden. That does not happen anymore. So all the money you ask for is being raised by the taxpayers, and if you don't spend it, it doesn't go back to them. It's going to our, rainy day fund, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Goes into a quasi savings fund.
Savings.
You have to have
Count.
a cushion. You don't want to spend down because if something happens, the auditors advised us, we need to have a cushion of some sort. So
Yeah.
at the one point, they used up all of our money. And as you recall, with the first couple of years we met with the auditor, he said it's a good thing that we didn't spend our budgets because we would have been in trouble. But because we didn't spend all our money, we were okay. And the third year, finally, we were where we should be. And now he advised us, make sure you have a cushion. Don't ever spend it down like that again. But at one point, they decided to use that money.
So the long story short is not that the money goes to waste by any means. It just
It's there.
it goes into a separate fund for.
It's 24,000.
For a cushion. You need it.
Right.
But I get what you're saying as well.
We used to see at town meeting that,
Well,
this
eventually,
change, that change, and it actually changed.
eventually
the
that
tax
may
rate,
happen
but-
again once we build it back up.
Right,
we
but
have
we're
to
not,
build-
we're not there
we're
right
not
now.
there.
Well, what was the magic number that the auditors gave us for that fund of what they wanted to see? Do you remember?
Well, they started it at 50,000, but they wanted it to be at least they wanted us to do a couple more 50,000s so that we have something there. And then after that, we could start, we could start going, okay, this tax year we didn't, so we got the cushion of, 100, 150,000, so we can go ahead and extra we can put against. But we have to build it back up.
So that's what that's
our
the
goal.
That's the number is 150,000 in that rainy day
Right.
fund before we can then convert back to offsetting
Yes,
taxes. Okay.
It just because they took it right down.
Yeah.
They took it right down.
Any clue where we're at to that $150,000 goal?
We
And I know I'm
have,
putting you on the spot because you don't have your computer.
I
in
don't
front of
have,
you.
I know for sure that we have about 52,000 in there. I know that for sure.
Okay.
But I don't have the exact because for this year that we just finished, I don't have any figures yet for that because
Okay.
we haven't heard back from the auditors.
So we can probably assume there's probably 80,000-90,000 in there now, so maybe another year or two we won't have to do this anymore.
Right.
Okay.
So I had a question for you, Cindy. If this cushion, is it What is the insurance for,
Well,
exactly?
you never spend exactly what you have, because you never know when something's gonna come up and you're gonna need money. If you have your checking account has $100,000 in it, and you spend $100,000, you have nothing there. So all of a sudden you get a bill that comes in for $10,000 and you go, crap, I don't have the money, I have nothing there. You want a little cushion just in case something happens.
Okay, but there's a cost that is associated with having a cushion.
It's undesignated funds. In my mind, I look at it that way because all of our monies are specifically designated how they can be spent, and that's the only way they're supposed to get spent. And there's no, we had nothing
They
that,
set up a reserve
Yeah.
fund, what they call the reserve fund, which can be spent at the discretion of the select board. If the money's needed. But if you don't have anything there and something comes up, and that what happened was, this wouldn't have happened, but they took it right down to like nothing,
yeah,
which we're never supposed to do. So we're just trying to, we had to fix the problem, which took three years. Thankfully, our department heads are very good about staying within their budget and staying under budget, so it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Now with year 3 having gone by, we're okay. But now we need to build it, now that we've gotten okay.
So what I recall from the auditor's discussion is that we have several rainy day funds, but like Gene said, they are point and shoot. Exactly what these rainy day funds are for is all you can use them for.
Well, we
And
have funds,
Yeah.
different funds. But
yeah.
The fund that you're talking about, we just put money in a reserve.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we have other funds that are
No, that's what I'm
designated for
saying.
other things.
There's other funds, but those other funds have a specific purpose that are written.
Right.
And they wanted us to have a fund that didn't have a specific purpose. That way, if we had an issue that didn't fall in one of those buckets of those funds,
Then at
that
the
we
dis-
could expend out of it.
Then at the discretion of the select board, you could spend out of it. So
That was the thinking behind it. I don't know if that helps you.
I'm pretty slow, so we'll have to keep thinking about it.
I mean, because the funds that we have, like we have cemetery funds, but those are specifically for those cemeteries. We have the elderly assistance, that's specifically for elderly assistance. So they wanted a fund that we could have money in, we could kind of build up a little bit so that if something came up,
Yeah.
the select board at their discretion could spend it on what needed, on, if it was something that didn't fall within one of the funds that has a designation.
Because even the emergency fund, there's only certain things that we can do with that.
Correct.
So this reserve
Emergency
fund
capital
is,
reserve is for the emergency purchase of capital items,
yeah.
over $10,000
So
specifically. And it's,
this
it
we
can't
can
be
we
used
can buy
because
a
somebody
50-cent
forgot.
eraser at Staples if we don't have any more erasers and there's no money left in the budget. Basically, is what this fund is for. We can do anything with it that we need to do immediately.
I guess as a taxpayer, I just feel that I'm loaning the town some money as a cushion. I mean, I'd rather keep it in my wallet or pay some of my bills rather than, okay, here you go, town.
If it would help you, I could get a more, a better explanation from the auditors as to,
Yeah.
I would be happy
I
to.
mean, I don't mean to be difficult by any
No,
means,
but the only way I can explain it is you don't ever want to spend exactly what you have, because then you have nothing.
Then you have nothing. It's just like, you're always told to have
yeah, I know.
X months of money
If you lose your
for
job
your,
or you get sick. or-
and so the town's in a position of not having any backup,
But I mean,
we're
we-
building it.
We've got money saved up. I mean, what is it? The funds are so restricted
Yes.
that,
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this $100,000 fund for emergency services
Yeah.
equipment that we can't buy emergency service equipment with the way it's written.
Well, we might be able to.
Well, we might be able to. But when it originally was written, we couldn't buy emergency services equipment with it,
But like if there
even though
was,
that's what it was
Towns
for.
are required to, I think towns and the states are required to have balanced budgets, right? In other words, we're not allowed to go into deficit spending, right? That only the federal government can do that, isn't that right? No, I'm serious. No, isn't that the case?
So,
We're not allowed, I don't think as a state or municipality, we're allowed to go into deficit spending. But if we had an emergency thing right off, we'd have to have a special town meeting, which, you know, what is it, 30 days or something, and see if we could raise the money that way if we didn't have any cushion.
So like if we had
Where
an
would you get
Irene
it from?
situation that wiped out the town office with the funds, she can make payroll.
Yeah. I mean,
I can get a
that's
better
what I
explanation
suggested.
for you that makes you more comfortable with exactly why we do what we do. But the easiest way I can explain it and try to explain it simply is that you never want to spend exactly what you have, because then you have zero at the end.
Yeah, I know there was
But
a,
I mean, if you have a line of credit or, I mean, it's not just a checkbook.
We have a line of credit.
I mean, well, obviously municipality's not a business, but
Yeah, 'cause we don't have a line of
Lines
credit.
of
I
credit.
think it's important to note too that it also depends on when bills come in versus when
Yes.
tax bills are
Correct.
due. So we're
the
not,
cash flow
she's
is-
not overspending, she's
No.
just, she's got some wiggle room in case a bill comes in and we've spent down what taxes came in at the last payment. Now, it gets replaced when the next tax payment comes due. So it's, that's the cushion she's talking about, really, is that time. It's the timing. So if
The cash
if we're
flow.
down to zero and taxes aren't due for another month, we can't pay any bills for a month.
Well, and I don't think the town's allowed to do a line of credit.
Just saying,
I don't think, we're not allowed to do it as a town.
I'm just using an example of a small business.
Well, no, I,
Having
it's-
other
You can't
alternatives.
I wish
compare
it
a
were, but-
municipality to a small business.
It definitely isn't, that's for sure.
No, it's-
well, I know there was a lengthy explanation in our auditor's report the first or second year that we had them do it. So if you could track that down for us, and actually, if you want to send it in an email to Michelle and to the board,
Right.
that way we can take a read at what their explanation was directly from the auditors. Because I think it was the first year that they
First year.
suggested us
Yeah,
to do that.
because
But we didn't do it till like the second year.
Because the first year, you know, we were
Sorry, Todd.
close. And, because you also gotta remember, you know, you have bills that come in at different times of the year. You got, all of a sudden, this huge bill might be due, you know,
School or
the
whatever.
Once a
school
year thing,
rental
something.
or
Yeah.
something. I mean,
Right.
there's different stuff that comes along. But I will definitely do that, and I'll get it out to you guys.
Thank you.
So
Bunny Trail.
my concerns still are the difference between the actuals and what you're asking for, especially when you look at the actual bottom line and then what you're asking for is like $24,000 more than you actually spent. It's a lot of money. And, you know, line by line, there's really some big differences in what you've used and what you're asking for.
You're speaking of the first and second columns, right? Gene, is that what you're referring to?
Well, it's
In other words, the
comparing like the
actuals
second
for-
and the fourth.
Right, well, the actuals for 16, 17 are 20, well, yeah, 25,000 less roughly. or 20.
I think really what we should do is we should not look at the $30,000 for dispatching, because that I can't control.
The what?
$30,000 for Southwest dispatch.
Oh, no, I know that is,
Yeah, but that's in every
That's something
budget
you
though,
have
so,
to do.
and we understand that exists.
So you
no, I
take
haven't looked at that at all.
30,000
I know you're.
per se right off the top, that is only specifically for dispatching, which, you know,
Would you still be 24,000 off, but
Yeah, it'd just be.
fire ponds, how much have you
30 and
spent this
full.
year?
1,500, and then we're in the works of doing Stebbins Road, and that's at 3,000. With that coming,
You're gonna be over,
That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
okay,
so
that's clear.
Do you do those every year?
no.
Okay.
But we,
Yeah, you do different ones every year.
Well, the dredging doesn't come every year.
Okay,
That's what's going to be done to the Stebbins Road pond.
okay.
which pretty much we open the dam up, take the boards out of the dam, let it flow, and Kerry Tyler's gonna come in, take a lot of silt out and stuff like that, and put
Yeah.
the boards back in. So that's gonna be the big cost of that project.
Right. So there's still 4,000 proposed to put towards fire pond maintenance. Do you have more to do, or
Yeah,
because it's not
we've
an
got
every year
some
thing?
appliances that we have to purchase to make all the fire ponds the same for connection wise for our fire trucks. Some pond, the one on top of Central Park was for the 4.5 inch connection, and all of our fire trucks now are 6 inch. So we have to, purchase the adapters and the caps, stuff like that. So that'll come out of the fire pond maintenance. So.
That's pretty important. Travel and conferences have been really underspent.
Yeah, and I've taken money out of them too. Reduce some of the. I mean, realistically, if you take the $30,000 out, not take it out, but
I
How does
know
that
that's a
Yeah.
thing, I
You know,
know that.
that leaves us what, 70,000 for the actual spending budget per se.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you have,
Yeah, but
you
you
can't
only
take the
spent
30,000 out of
76
this, because this
with
is
it.
already spent here.
You spent 42.
Column.
Yeah, you gotta take it out of, if you take it out of one,
One,
you
you
gotta
gotta
take it out of both,
Take
but,
them all out.
so you have so to your point, you have a $70,000 spending budget. To her point, you spent $46,000 in 16-17 without that $30,000 nut in both of those categories. So there's a $30,000 gap there that doesn't have anything to do with mutual aid, doesn't have anything to do with anything else. Your spending was 46,000 approximately in 16-17. You're asking for 70,000 in this budget year if we're not considering that $30,000 from Southwest Mutual Aid, because we know that that's a set cost. There's nothing we can do about it. So that's the concern that Gene's bringing forth, that we're almost doubling what 16-17 actual was in this budget. See what I'm saying? And I know there's things that, just like with the highway guys, they have to plan out their maintenance of stuff.
Right.
You guys have the same issues in that respect. But where can we kind of try to bridge that gap so we're not budgeting $30,000 more than on a regular basis than what we're going to spend? And maybe it can't be, maybe it's got to be 20. Maybe we can figure out how to get it to a $20,000 gap versus a $30,000 gap. And that's, through your EMS Vernon rescue supplies, because you're going to underspend that line item probably by $2,000 by the end of this fiscal year. So maybe we can drop that to 3 from 4 and kind of pick these lines apart to try to keep that gap from being so big. I guess that's where Gene's coming from.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Josh, may I?
Come on up, Junior.
So, I understand where you guys are coming from. I run a business myself. So, but the problem you guys are looking at is you're cutting emergency services. Your law enforcement, your EMS services for transporting, are all coming to you guys for huge amounts more money. We're not asking for any more money. We're at the same amounts as we were, maybe a little less than last year. But you want to cut this department even further down from what it is. We also still have to purchase new bunker gear. Gear has a lifeline on now, date, 10 years, that's it. Then it has to be replaced. So you're looking roughly, every 5 years or so, we've got to replace 5 to 6 sets of gear. This is the stuff we're trying to do now.
Well,
We're trying to prepare to do that stuff. Trying to get so we don't But if something happens, we won't have the money because you guys are trying to cut 30,000.
That's not true.
You just said 70 to 40.
Yes.
So you're trying to cut
But
30,000?
what you just said is we won't have the money is not true. If there is an emergency that you guys need something that you cannot purchase based on your budget, we have different funds that we can pull it from to get it.
So you want to
So-
drop a department that's an emergency services department from $70,000, was a drop in the bucket to this town, to 40.
No, that's not what we said at all, JJ.
You just said you're cutting $30,000.
No, I did not say that. Not even close. I said there's a $30,000. I said there's a $30,000 gap between what was spent in 16-17 and what is a proposed budget for this year. There's a $30,000 gap there. And as I said, I understand, just like the highway garage, there's maintenance issues that we can't plan for, and you guys can't plan for. So we leave a little cushion in a few of those areas so we don't have that issue of running out of money. But is 2 times what you spend on a normal basis the right amount of cushion? I don't think it's the right amount of cushion.
No.
I think maybe a $20,000 cushion is better than a $30,000 cushion. We're not trying to look to cut you right to the bone so you can't do anything except for what you did in 16-17. We're looking to find a way to reduce the amount of cushion that's within everybody's budget. And that's what we have to do across the board, everywhere, and that's what we're doing. The sheriff's department is going to come up on this sheet next. You mentioned that we're not cutting other emergency services. I got news for you. I'm going to do my best to cut them very, very sharply this year. Again, just like I tried to last year. But it's, in the end, all this crap is up to the town. That's what happens at town. That's why we have town meeting. We, as a select board, are elected to do the best thing that we think we should do for the town. Beginning and ends of it. And from there, the town decides what they want to do. So when we get to the sheriff's page, here in a minute, we're probably going to agree to cut them down to $75,000 this year from $220,000 previous year.
Which honestly I say is wrong, but
Well-
besides the point.
And you will stand up at town meeting just like you have in the past and give the same speech that you have in the past, which is great. It's your opinion. It's good for you to do that. I support you in doing that because it's your right to do a town meeting. Is it the right thing for the town? We could debate that all day. So, we're not specifically pointing anybody out. I mean, we're gonna get down to the town clerk and the town treasurer's office, and they're gonna fight for the hours of their assistants, and they're gonna tell me why, and they're gonna tell the select board why they need so many hours other than every other town to do their job. Just like Keith Clark comes to us every year at town meeting and says, this is why you need so many more hours than every other town. This is the game that we play. This is the budget process. That's the way it works.
I understand it, but for a department that is the smallest of the departments, budgetary wise, you,
No,
And it's not even close, actually.
no.
There are several departments that are a lot less money, but. And if I get my way, the sheriff's department will have even less of a budget than what you have by the end of this town meeting. So,
We have to do the best we can to,
I understand that.
to balance, okay, the needs of the departments against the needs of the taxpayers to keep their costs down. The people in this town that don't have a lot of extra money, you know? And they're barely able to scrape their tax money together to pay what they do owe. And their choice then is what? Sell your house and leave. Well, that's kind of cruel, right?
So-
Other towns have gotten by with with lower budgets. I think Vernon can too.
and that's the fine line that we're walking right now. Is, prior to me being on the select board, we started making cuts to everybody. It's been going on long before I was on this board, long before Gene was on this board, Steve, Jeff popped in and out, during that time.
Piece of popcorn.
Yes. So, this is an ongoing trend that has to happen in this town. We spend way more money than everybody else in every single category. We still do. Even with all the cuts that were made by all the previous select boards and our own this last year, we still spend way more money than everybody else. In almost every single line item, the rec department included. We spend way more than everybody else. Do we offset it? Absolutely. And that's why we can justify that particular spending. And that's why we have to make these adjustments to make this more affordable. You heard me say earlier, and everybody knows I'm getting super frustrated with this budget process because we've cut almost nothing. Even with the 5% that everybody's done, it equates to almost nothing. If in town meeting, I think I figured it out last time when the numbers are screwed up on the spreadsheet. If at town meeting we don't take a significant decrease specifically on the sheriff's department, because it's the only other one that is really a huge nut out there, we will see about a $36,000 decrease year over year is all we've cut so far to this point. Am I right? $32,000. Actually, I'm wrong. So it's even less.
Yes, 32,000.
So we've cut $32,000 right now with everybody's 5% reduction, which not everybody did. You guys didn't do it. There's other departments that didn't achieve that 5% budget cut. And I personally, if this budget stands throughout this process, even with the sheriff's department's cut, I won't support this budget. I won't support it in a vote. I won't support it at town meeting. Because $32,000 isn't enough to cut from our town at this point.
Now that this is all blown up, like it always does when it comes to my portion of the budget.
It's not just your portion, trust me.
Yeah, you haven't been here for some.
I'm just saying, it seems like whenever I come up here for budget meetings, something before or after gets somebody all fired up. I'll sit with my officership, even if we sit with Michelle, and we'll figure something out.
Yeah, if like I said, if there's a line item, take a look at it and find me a reasonable amount of cushion. Don't, on a $4,000 note that you've only spent $1,000 on, don't leave yourself $3,000 in cushion, because if you need supplies, we will get you the supplies. If you run out, we will get it for you some way, somehow, whether it be through grant money or emergency capital fund or whatever we need to do to get those supplies. Obviously, the emergency capital fund's got to be $10,000, so it's got to be fairly significant, like something breaks on a truck or whatever. Fine. But we're not going to leave any department crippled to the point that you can't do your job. We're asking everybody just to give us a little less cushion than what we've had before, because we don't have the money coming in anymore to support it. That's all there is. That's all there is to it. So I appreciate you taking a second look at that, and taking a look at the cushion
With you, Michelle.
that we can
That's smart.
narrow.
What might help them, and I'd like to see it for finalizing, is if we could have a column that shows what's been spent the first 6 months.
I was gonna ask you if you would give
Because
that report,
Yeah.
the actuals to date.
For the next meeting?
Yeah.
I'll try to get it to you.
for that,
Friday.
okay,
I'll try to
Thank
get
you.
it to you maybe a couple days before,
that'd be great, thank you.
if I can.
That helps.
So they're going to take a look at that and see what they can do. Sheriff's Department. So we got 3 or 4 different options from the Sheriff's Department on their contracted services this year. They have increased year over year by about $5,000 of the current service that we provide, that they provide us right now. 232,960 up to 238,085 for the exact same service year over year. Total budget of almost $300,000, which just makes me sick. Does somebody have those couple of different options handy that we were looking at?
You're awesome.
Chris, Clerk is gonna, is that a neighbor firm? Let's see.
51, 4,
Okay, it's 22.
22.
That's neat.
So the current is 140 hours a week, 20 hours a day, and that's what brings us to this almost $300,000 number. Actually, that includes rescue
That's rescue.
services, so 240,000 is gonna be the expense for this year. 238,085 to be exact, to maintain services year over year.
And how much income did they get us?
6
Yeah, 6,000.
is estimated.
Okay, thank you.
So secondary law enforcement coverage at 120 hours is 223,204. 80 hours a week is 148,803, and 40 hours a week, where the hours and days will vary, is $70,000. This is 911, emergency services call-outs during periods without coverage would be direct to the state police, blah, blah, blah. So there you go. So there's our options for this year. If anybody needs to look at them, go ahead and look at them so you can review them. I will go back to what I've said in every town meeting ever since we've started this contract, is we spend $250,000 on a law enforcement, where the nearest town, which is actually larger than us, Westminster, spends $70,000. We are the single largest contract that Wyndham Sheriff's Department holds by 4 times of any town. And everybody's heard my speech, so I'm not going to say anything more. You tell me what you want to do, because you know my opinion.
Why do we have that in our budget? Why isn't that a separate article?
Well, I think it's important for the select board to weigh in on what the select board thinks is the appropriate amount of police coverage. And I'm glad it's in our budget, because it allows us to communicate directly with the citizenry to make sure that they understand that we've looked at the big picture, like, Wyndham County, and comparatively looking at our own situation here, feel that this is appropriate. I mean, that's the way I look at it.
I have no problem with us doing it. It just seems
No, I
like for
know.
that amount, it takes up so much of the budget time. It seems like that should be its own special little.
Well, and it always does get beat around and
Yeah.
pushed up by the time it gets to town meeting. I don't doubt that's what will happen again this year. But I think certainly from my perspective, and I will say I have quite a range of perspectives here with this, that I think that the citizenry in this town would be well served with the $70,000 option, in my opinion, or 70. What was it? 70.
It was 70. It's 40 hours a week.
Right. And it would be in keeping with the expenditures from some other towns. And I mean, this thing is just snowballed into.
Even at $70,000, you're not keeping with expenditures of other towns.
Well,
You're matching the highest spending town.
Yes, that's true. That
So
is true.
we're not, seeing a significant
No.
loss in service comparatively to other towns. We actually still have the best service of any town at $70,000.
That's right. Yes, I agree with that.
My question was on having an article, because it seems like people, once this is done, they don't want to talk about the budget anymore.
Who doesn't want to?
The townspeople.
We're still going to talk about it in an article. It's still going to be discussed.
Well, it'll be
Yeah.
discussed
I mean-
at town meeting.
But I mean, no.
This one particularly.
Right.
Because the emotions are flare high in this area.
They do.
But, the way to look at it, I think, the way to look at any town budget is to try to cut back on the emotion and look at this clear-headedly and logically about what our needs are and how do we meet them. And, because we had 2 burglaries in July, doesn't mean that Vernon is rife with crime. It really, it's true.
It is true. So what's everybody want to do? Because we beat this thing for the last 3 years, so everybody has an
Would you like a
opinion on what they
motion?
want to do.
Is that-
Absolutely.
All right, I move that we allocate 70, well, the 40-hour a week at $70,000
$70,000.
even, yes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion?
I don't think it'll fly, but okay.
I don't think it's going to fly either,
I think for the
but we
budgetary
have to do
purposes.
as
Yeah.
we see what's best for the
And
town.
I think we're sending out a clear signal. Number one, Vernon is not a town that is the highest crime rate in southern Vermont. That's number one. Number two, there are things that individuals in town can do to reduce the crime rate in their particular area if they're having crime problems. They need to look at that. And number three is, let's get reasonable and understand that Vernon does not have the resources that we used to have to throw money at every little problem that comes along. We don't have that anymore. I and you and probably a number of other people here lived in Vernon when we had a constable and a second constable, and Harry Frost did an admirable job. And you know what? The town wasn't rife with crime then, and it won't be now either, but the citizenry have to pitch in. That's the issue.
You have to take personal responsibility.
Personal responsibility, right, that's right.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I would just suggest, because any 911 emergency calls, I don't know what the state police charge, if anything. Because if we are cutting them down to 40 hours a week, we may want to, I hate to use the word cushion again, but we may have extra police coverage bills coming on top of that if there's 911 calls when they're not on call, when they're not here. So just, I would caution against sticking strictly to that 70 without building something in for the $50 an hour or whatever. And I don't
There are
know
additional
what that is
coverage.
for the state police. I would assume there's a charge.
Well, wouldn't that fall into some emergency fund situation if we had, a spate of crime and I mean, as it is now, I mean, as far as like responding to issues or accidents or whatever, it's not like a 5-minute response time. We've seen that over the last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it seems to me like we would have some kind of contingency sitting there that we could tap into if such a thing occurred.
I mean, I wouldn't expect it to be more than a few $1,000s. I mean, we're talking
Right.
about,
Yeah.
a phone call comes in, it is an emergency, and nobody happens to be on duty at the time. So I wouldn't expect a ton of it, but there's gonna be something. And I hate to set a budgetary number expecting to go over.
Josh?
Jay?
I think maybe Michelle might need to get a hold of VSP and find that information out before your next meeting. But if I'm correct, they don't charge for services if they're called in, because it's part of the job for the state police.
You are correct. They don't charge for 911 response.
But, and I'm not gonna get on a soapbox, but I can tell you that Weathersfield, Vermont, from here, is a long distance. That's where they are coming from. If we need somebody in the middle of the night, just to let you know. They are coming, not local, they're coming out of there.
They don't all just sit in the station all day either. They're around. I actually just met with one this morning and talked to him at Rotary, and he told us all the wonderful things that they're doing and how they travel up and down 91, and
So
He
about
was-
2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
very, very good guy. And very happy to hear that they are everywhere. They don't just sit in their offices all the time. So, do we want to build a cushion in?
I don't.
I agree. I don't either.
It's gonna change the town meeting anyways.
I agree with you. I think it will be changed to town meeting as well. So, all those in favor of the $70,000 budget for the Wyndham County's share of contracted services, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Good, we're not talking about that ever again until town meeting. Town clerk, come on up.
Thank you. I do see the handwriting on the wall here, and I know I probably will not change any minds. I did take another look at what the area towns of comparable size have. And a couple of things. One, we do more with death certificates and certified copies because we're the only area town of that size to have a 100-bed nursing home and assisted living facility. In fact, our deaths were 4 times the number that Guilford had seen this year. Secondly, we are one of the few towns in the area that actually sells pay-as-you-throw bags because we're one of 3 towns in Wyndham County that has commercial residential trash pickup. In fact, our office sold $35,000 worth of pay-as-you-throw bags over the past 12 months. That said, if we are budgeted to do so, we shall do so with less. The only other thing that I would say is that in this last year we've embarked upon a effort to digitize land records with the purchase of a software package from NEMREC. That requires that our own personnel input the records and turn them into PDFs. I've been using some of my assistant's time for that purpose, and if she is there less time, obviously less time will go into that purpose. The only other possibility, and I don't see it as something that you could have a staff employee do, but maybe find a way to do it on a contract. Since it is involved in records restoration, we could dedicate a small portion of the dedicated restoration fund we receive from the recording of land records towards such a purpose.
I like your thinking.
And I also, Mr. Chairman, I've suggested to the cemetery committee 2 areas where they could raise additional money, and I would hope that they would come back to you with articles for that purpose.
So do I. I like additional money.
We all could use additional money.
Good deal.
Anybody have any questions for me or anything?
As far as the recording the land records with NEMREC, does it have to be a paid person, or can the volunteer do that?
I would want some additional expertise beyond what is available through volunteers, because it would require me to commit considerable training and oversight in that process.
How far are you on the land records to getting them digitized?
What's that again?
How many books do you have left to do?
Right now, we have about 20 books left to do to get us to where I would feel comfortable.
Because you have no other backup unless you do that.
What's that?
You don't have any other backup for the newer books, so if there was, you have to
Correct.
have backup.
And
You can thank the state for cutting the microfilm.
well, I want to make sure that we do the best possible job for our citizens within the money that the citizens are willing to pay for.
So I'm going to propose the same thing here that I proposed for the treasurer as a reduction of hours to 15, the assistant town clerk.
I do not support that.
It's fine.
I don't have a problem with trying it out.
I'd support it with the condition that it be revisited next year,
I agree.
if it's not enough for the coming year.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I think gathering data in that area, I mean, I know other towns are doing it with less staff hours. You know, so. And I know we have a nursing home here. I don't know what all is involved in recording death certificates, but I'm sure it does take some time.
And also, we do print out a large number of certified copies
Yes.
for death certificates.
Yes, you have to, yes.
You charge for those?
Yes, $10
Yes, it
a
does.
death
Oh,
certificate.
yes, they're
That's good.
And the state charges for the paper we print.
Of course they do.
Not $10, I hope.
No,
$9.99.
$9.99.
actually, it works out
So
to
you're
about,
making a penny a
it
piece.
works out to about 20 cents a sheet with the state
Oh, well,
charges.
That helps
Any
to
more
pay
discussion?
it off.
Joyce,
Yes.
I have a question. By cutting 5 hours from you, right? 5 hours from them, how much money are you saving?
You're probably about, what, $12,000?
Are we cutting 5 hours or 10 hours? Ben,
I-
I do the math for one, I have to do the math. for-
Based on our previous discussion, I don't think anybody here is, well, with the exception of
25.
myself, is ready to cut to 10 hours.
Okay.
So I think we're looking at 15,
It's about 9,000.
yeah, $10,000.
And what's the difference in that in a $100,000 house?
1 cent, not even.
So
We can say that, I'm not even gonna speak.
So it appears to be insignificant, but you accumulate that from department to department, line item by
Thank you.
line item, and it becomes a significant amount of
Right,
tax money.
okay. She's got an assistant, he's got an assistant, the rec department's got an assistant. Did you cut his hours?
You have two people that run an entire program.
Well, he's an assistant, right?
He's the assistant director, yes.
Well, why isn't his hours cut?
I don't know. Why isn't his hours cut?
Well, for one thing, the rec department has a substantial intake of funds as well. And I see that as, that assistant director position as being necessary to keep that flow of income at where it is. And I don't know, I haven't talked to Seth directly about that, but it seems to me that he would have to cut programs if he cut much of Ian's time. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah.
This is the rec department has a
But
substantial
look, but you're
income.
giving her, you're cutting her hours, but yet she's getting all this comp time. So you're paying her anyway.
Well,
And then and you're probably gonna do the same thing with Tim's girl too. And you're gonna give him comp time, and you're paying him anyway.
I don't agree with comp time either, so you're
But
the wrong
whether-
person to be talking to
But
about
whether
that.
you agree with it or not, they're getting the comp time, and so you're paying them anyway, and they're not working. It doesn't seem very logic to me, when you're
But comp
paying
time is
them
based on
anyway.
hours. It's not,
Sorry.
yeah, doesn't have anything to do with anything else.
It just doesn't,
the thing that I have to look at is the thing I have to look at as a select board member is, number one, is the town rolling in cash? And I think that's not the case. The second thing is how are we doing compared to other towns in this area? That's number two. And when you look at that, and I've got the
I don't think you
spreadsheet
should
here.
be, no, I don't think you should be looking at other
you
towns
don't?
all the time.
So you should think that we should just operate in a vacuum here and
No,
pay whatever somebody
No,
feels like
but
paying?
you're always looking at other towns.
That is exactly what.
Well, what else do we
one
have to
would
look
do.
at, though?
Yeah.
If you were sitting in my chair, Steve's chair,
No, I
Jeff's
wouldn't
chair,
want to be
Sandy's
sitting
chair,
in your chair.
what would you do to compare if you, because we need to reduce our budget. That's just a need. It's not a want, it's not a desire by anybody on this board
Right.
to reduce anybody's
This town
hours.
has to learn
to-
how to not have all the glorified stuff that we have.
Thank you.
But you're not cutting the rec department. What have you cut from the rec department? Nothing.
The rec department doesn't cost us any money, Joyce. It doesn't cost us anything. Between the school rental and the income that it brings in, there is no expense to the rec department, to the taxpayer.
That's the situation we're looking at here.
And look,
And
our
the
town
other-
treasurer just confirmed that I'm
Well,
not talking out of
the-
my.
The other
Kathy
thing,
costing the
if
town?
I might answer your question too.
What is Kathy talking,
The-
costing the town.
The other thing that we have to consider with the rec department is, rec department is a very big draw for people trying to sell their homes in this town, along with the school, of course. Those two items that are
I don't.
you don't agree with that?
No.
Well, all that aside, doesn't even matter. The rec department doesn't cost the town anything between the income that it brings in and the rental fee that we receive from the school and the reduction in taxes that we see there. It doesn't cost, yes, that we offset for the school.
Well, I still think.
It does not cost the taxpayers anything to have a rec
that
department.
by cutting Kathy's hours and cutting his, Patty's hours, that you're not saving that much money. And it's, when you're giving them comp time, and here she's taking comp time, and she's not working.
Okay.
I think
You
that's-
can continue this debate at town meeting. Absolutely. I'm all about it. As I'm sure many others will. So is everybody good with well, not everybody. Do we have a majority on the reduction of
I
15
feel that
hours.
we should try it out at least for a year
And
to see
re-looking
how
at
it
it.
works and revisit it next year.
I agree.
Now, I'm sitting here realizing I won't be here next year, but on the other hand, I will still be voting at town meeting, and I will still be paying taxes,
Yep.
I think.
And I might not
Unless
be
I-
sitting here next year either.
Unless I
so-
croak in the interim, in which case then it's all a moot point. You can then write up a death certificate for me, how's that? Oh, I suspect you will.
So, all those in favor of reducing the hours of the town clerk's assistant to 15, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. It's not a fun thing. It's not something we want to do. It's something that we feel is necessary.
Should I make my thing now, so while you're mad?
I was mad before I even got here,
Well,
so.
you're gonna get mad again in a little while, so
That's
you
all
might
right.
as well let me make my speech now.
No, we'll do our buildings and we got to keep it in. Well, actually, you know what? No, because we're paying you to be here. Come on up.
You're not paying me to be here, I'm on comp time.
I know, that's what I'm saying. We're paying you to be here.
Okay,
One way or the other, we're paying you to be here.
thank you. As you know, I am opposed to cutting both the assistant treasurer and the assistant town clerk. I didn't have a chance to say much because I was sort of blindsided last week, or last 2 weeks ago, because I didn't know this was gonna come, so I didn't have a chance to organize my thoughts. But I wrote down a few things that I wanted to share. So for the FY 16-17, the treasurer's office oversaw a budget of $2,126,081 for the Selectboard budget, and a library budget of $115,610. In addition, we also oversee 30 different funds that total $5,728,617.15. We processed $3,448,045.92 in accounts payable for that fiscal year, and $797,503.89 in payroll. We received and processed revenue from various sources totaling $3,871,011.22. Additionally, we prepared and mailed over 900 tax bills and collected taxes in 3 installments. We receive delinquent taxes from the delinquent tax collector, post and reconcile to her on a monthly basis. We do all aspects of payroll, including but not limited to processing new employees, payroll deductions for the employee portion of both health and dental insurance, and we oversee the employee portion and the town portion of the retirement. We do mandatory reporting to the state and federal government on quarterly and yearly basis, and process W-2s and 1099s. We are required to make sure we have all the necessary paperwork for our contracted workers, i.e. snow removal, cleaning, lawn care, etc., as set forth by the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. We sell pay-as-you-throw trash bags, and as Kathy mentioned, we go over to collect money on a weekly basis from the Guilford Country Store and we make sure to maintain their inventory for sales. In the past 2.5 weeks, I've kept track of the activity in our office, both in person and via telephone. We had a total of 317 interactions with the public, either in person or via telephone, in that 2.5 week period. The treasurer's office has 2 yearly closings, as payroll is done on a calendar year, and the rest of the town is run on a fiscal budget. I think that eventually both offices are going to have to look at cutting services. Our assistants do comp time, because there are times we need them more, and when they comp the time, then we have to give them the time off, which they're paid for, and so we have less assistant time. I would once again urge you all, as well as the residents of the town of Vernon, to look at your tax bill. 3/4 of your tax bill is the school budget. The town is a small portion. You can cut the town until it's gone, and as long as the school goes up, your taxes are going to go up. Thank you for allowing me to this is a small part of what we do, but thank you for allowing me to speak.
So do we have any other questions on the town clerk's budget before we let him go? Bueller? Okay. I think you're good.
Thank you all for your time.
You're welcome. Buildings and grounds. We're almost done, folks. Well, almost done for tonight. Put it that way. We're gonna look at buildings and grounds, please. So, did we pull out the shared service with the school yet?
We did not.
We did not. So, as all of it, did everybody attend the meeting with the school board?
No, I didn't. But I heard about it.
Everybody, okay, Sandy and Steve weren't there. So, essentially what we are looking at doing is to try to do some shared services with the school to help reduce our budget this year. And the idea that was brought to us by Mike Hebert, the chair of the school, is to have their groundskeeping crew take care of the grounds here at the town office, meaning doing all the lawn and trimming and all that kind of thing. And I said, that's great, but is that gonna increase your hours and essentially increasing your budget at a higher tax rate? And he said no, that they can do it within their normal week to take care of the grounds at the town office, along with taking care of the grounds at the school. So it's a shared service that we will not have to expend from the town and will not increase the budget on the school side. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, me too.
We are,
Confirmed.
that is confirmed. He confirmed with me at the tree lighting that they were good to go on that. We looked at, I asked them to look into taking care of the town office as far as doing the cleaning and that kind of thing as well, because it's obviously the same group of guys. They do not feel that they can take on the town office without having to increase their hours, so we're gonna leave that alone for now. But as far as the groundskeeping goes, we are going to become a shared service with the school as long as everybody's okay with that.
Makes sense.
I agree.
So Josh, question, they're gonna take care of it during the winter time too?
Don't mow in the winter.
No, but there's shoveling and salting and stuff in the winter. They're gonna take care of that as well?
No.
Are they gonna do all the leaf pickup?
That would be part of groundskeeping, yes.
They don't have the abilities to do that,
So,
just to let you know.
okay.
So you might want to put that in your budget.
Questions?
I guess I'm sure I've seen people at the school picking up leaves, but I guess I don't know. There's trees all over the place.
My guesstimation is that they probably run over them with a mulching blade and they go away.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. I do that in my lawn when I mow, which is only twice a year.
Wish I could only mow twice a year.
I live in the woods. There are advantages.
So do you have a lawn?
Now stop it. I have wildflowers everywhere.
You do.
Oh, and they're lovely. That's what it is.
Okay.
Wonderful idea. Great.
All right. So we're gonna take that as a shared service with the school.
Josh, I'll need a notice as well from you guys.
It's fine.
You guys, because you signed a 3-year contract.
Okay. Michelle, can you put that on your to-do list? And we can sign it at the next select board meeting next week.
What are we signing?
We need to look at JJ's contract and see what we need to do to get out of said contract with a letter to his company or whatever.
It's renewable every year.
Okay,
So
No,
we're
that's
gonna
not the way the contract was written up.
Okay.
let's take a look at it.
Oh,
See what needs to be done.
okay.
All right, cleaning, we're gonna keep. Snow removal, we're gonna keep. Supplies is fine. Still with equipment.
So we need to make,
No, I think everything else is. You have any other questions? Okay. We move on. Select board budget. Why is the EOC building expense in there?
We never know where else to put it. Because we just started paying for that last year, so
Yeah.
this is where you
That's where it
decided to
landed.
put it. We could put it under the safety services budget,
I was just curious.
because it's a town building.
It's not a town building though.
Oh, that's what the.
That's our
expenses-
expense, yeah,
Yeah.
for it. It'll probably be moved here sooner rather than later.
so can we talk about that down there?
That is the plan, is to move it either here or the fire station, and I don't know where that is right now.
I don't think the fire station has the capability to hold it. Could be wrong. Am I right in saying that?
You have to talk to Dave. They've got things they're looking at.
Okay. Yeah, we have a EOC meeting coming up in the middle of January, so then we're gonna be discussing that very thing. Actually, you got an email today, trying to figure out a date for the middle of January to have this discussion.
Is that number, we had a discussion for cleanup and talked about putting more in there. Is that the number we went with? Do you remember?
Yes, it was $100 to Vermont
Oh,
Green Up, to
Okay.
the state,
Oh, and the 50.
and then 50 to
Oh, okay.
Emily or whoever the Green Up coordinator
Okay,
is
so
for
that
the
is-
local. And that was for like the lunch at the
Right,
end and
right.
signs and things like
Yeah,
that.
and I remember having the discussion, and I just wondered if that was what we are up to even figure.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on this, additional questions on this budget? We were over 5% were we, in our own budget?
What does that mean, 457 being contribution?
That's the retirement.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, just under 5%, barely under 5%. Not that that means for anything. Okay, everybody happy with this budget? Great. Okay. Public, wait.
Hey, wait, we have, this is the select board budget too.
Okay.
General expenses.
There. Yes, this is yours too.
Goody.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, insurance and loans.
This went up, and why, it's the Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns.
Well, the county tax was a huge difference last year
Yeah.
from what
Sorry,
was
county
budgeted
tax,
and what was the actual, so.
Yeah, we doubled that line item.
And I'm hoping that that's high enough because that jumped exponentially.
It's unbelievable.
Contracts, maintenance and repair, so that's supposed to be things to take care of this building? Is that right?
Yes, yeah.
The technology upgrade line, that's where we're trying to get our computers right instead of putting it through the capital plan?
Correct.
Okay, so that's why we see a little bit of a increase over last year actual.
Right, so we took 3,000 out of the capital plan, or 3,300. and
Dropped it in there.
Not putting that 5,000 in the capital plan anymore,
Mhm.
and just doing that.
So
Okay.
that's for the offices in this building? They're not putting it in their own budget?
No, it's all of those upgrades were in one.
In this
those-
budget, okay.
those in ours.
And they'll have a shared server, and it doesn't make sense to separate.
Well, I was thinking of like when they need to replace a computer, is this
This is where it will come from.
come from?
Yes. Just every one or two a year instead of all of them at once, hopefully.
Okay. Any other questions on this particular budget? Sucks that it hasn't increased, but there's nothing we can do about a county tax.
Nope. That's that big one.
Okay. Public participation agenda items only. Nothing? Okay. Correspondence. Actually, hold on, because we did put the town treasurer on here to talk about budget. We might as well just get this assistant stuff over with tonight.
She left though, I think we only put her on for her to be able to speak.
Right.
I thought she was
No.
here to
she-
talk about her budget again.
No, I think she wanted to speak as she did, because I would not go there talking about her budget after she's walked out the door.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I wanted to discuss the assistant that she just spoke about.
I do think that Kathy said about the point that if she had a heart attack, if Cindy had a heart attack, Kathy does not live in the office. The minute hours she has right now. And to cut her more would be even worse. And that happened in the town of the Valley. And they were in major trouble for a long time.
VLCT doesn't have resources when that happens.
Even with the resources, they had a lot of problems.
Yeah.
I remember it was like,
And I just wonder too, in this town with all the funds that were established over the last years of VY, the kind of money that they do run through their office, and that's not probably typical of other
Yes.
towns? It is.
We have a comparable town on our chart that actually handles the same amount of money and uses significantly less hours than the town treasurer's office.
Okay, that's not
the town of Woodford, actually. Do a little research on Woodford and how much,
I know, Katie.
and how much money that they put through the town of Woodford, the budget that they deal with, the amount of people that they deal with. Actually, I think Woodford's a little bit larger than us. And take a look at the hours that they have in the treasurer's office. And
What's really nice about that is you have to go out of your way to get to the town office.
yeah,
Here, it's, people are always popping into these offices.
eventually we're gonna probably have to reduce the amount of hours that we're open. Well, that's down the road.
Mm.
So, but what is the treasurer's office in Woodford? What do they utilize?
It's not on this chart.
Okay.
This was from last year, I believe.
Okay. But it is less than us, significantly, and they deal with the same amount of money. But it is what it is. So if we don't want to talk about that particular positioning, then we can wait to do it at the next budget meeting when we go over everything. She stated her piece about her assistant. That's why I figured it'd be fine to speak about it tonight. But if you guys want to wait, totally fine with that too.
I think it should have been addressed while they were here.
Yep, totally fine. We will do that. Correspondence.
Oh, you have it all.
Okay. You have a report for us, or just everything is in our hands?
You have it all.
Okay. Upcoming meeting schedule, regular meeting is the 2nd of January. Final budget review is the 3rd of January. For those folks that don't have a calendar, that is next week.
Sure is.
And we're gonna hope that it is our final budget review. But stay tuned. And another thing to put on your calendar that is not on this is there will be a Public Utilities Commission's meeting next Thursday the 4th. So if you want to go to meetings 3 nights in a row like me, you can go to Brattleboro Union High School on the 4th at 6 o'clock and then again at 7 to listen to the discussion about the sale of North Star Energy.
They're not having that here, though.
No, the cafeteria was not available for them to utilize that day, so they moved it to the high school all-purpose room to do that meeting.
What our cafeteria is doing on the 4th.
I believe there's some kind of rec function going on. But
Well, they're making lots of money for
I
us.
hope they are too.
State seems to change.
All right, we're adjourned.
The road.